Welcome to the Cables2Clouds podcast. Cloud adoption is on the rise, and many network infrastructure professionals are being asked to adopt a hybrid approach. As individuals who have already started this journey, we would like to empower those professionals with the tools and the knowledge to bridge the gap. Hello and welcome everyone to the Cables2Clouds podcast. My name is Chris Miles, and joining me today are my two lovely, beautiful co-hosts, Tim McConaughey and Alex Perkins. So Alex, how you doing today? How's your weekend going so far?
Doing good. I had a late night maintenance last night. Had to do some firewall upgrades, all the fun old school style stuff, maintenance window, and sitting on a bridge by myself until 1 a.m. It was great.
Wait, you were on a bridge until 1 a.m.?
Like, not only were you on a bridge, you're on a bridge by yourself.
Part.
Yeah, what's the point of the bridge? If
I was on a bridge by myself, yes.
That's taking change management to a whole new level.
Yes.
He's the jury, judge, and executioner.
I'm supposed to do all the work, so, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and then I just hung out, had a pretty lazy day today, hung out with the kids, did a couple things outside, and that's about it. Tomorrow's Sunday, so finish out the weekend and get back to work on Monday. What about you, Tim?
I would like to say I was doing something really exciting, but I wasn't. I was working on data management applications for WGU this weekend, which is a fancy way of saying, riveting. It's a fancy way of saying MySQL. I was doing one of those assessments where you have to write databases. It sucked. It was really bad. You probably had more fun on your alone time bridge.
It was therapeutic, right?
There's going to be a database admin in no time.
That was my... Yeah, in the cloud. I'm going to be a cloud database admin. So.
Absolutely.
There we go.
Yeah. All right, Chris. So what are we doing here?
I guess we should probably kind of talk about that. Why we're doing a podcast. Why are three more white dudes doing a podcast? So, let's get into that. So, with beards, absolutely with beards. I think me, Alex, Tim, we've been colleagues for a long time. We've known each other a long time, and we kind of all followed a similar path, right? We've kind of realized that businesses, enterprises are moving to the cloud. That's been happening for years now, but now it's kind of come to the point where people are begrudgingly or very happily moving to cloud, but nonetheless, it's here to stay for a while. We're network infrastructure professionals. We live and breathe networking, and we've kind of had to make this transition to cloud networking, which is a very different world. So as individuals that made that transition, we really wanted to just give back and kind of, learn new things and also help people that don't know how to make the transition to do so, because it was, it wasn't the easiest thing for us. We're still in the process. We're still learning new things every day. It's like drinking from a literal fire hose. So we really just want to bridge that gap and, do the same with public cloud. So that's why we're here.
Cool.
Yeah. So Chris, what's your background? How did you get into this?
Yeah. So, so I've been in networking about 10 years. Got my start at a tech support job doing support for high-speed internet and cable TV. So, started doing helping people program the remote controls for their houses and things like that, and got the itch for networking when I got a little bit of exposure to it. Worked my way up within that company. Eventually got my CCNA, and then kind of just kept going. It was all very monetary focused for a long time. I really just wanted the next job to get the next pay raise, things like that. I found MPLS, and that's where I found my absolute love for networking. That was the thing that really locked me in. I was like, man, I love this. I was like, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen. It was I guess that's where I really found my nerdiness for it, you know? Yeah. So eventually worked my way up after I found my passion for it. Got my CCIE back in 2019. After probably many too many attempts at the CCI lab, but
$1,600 lunch.
Made it work. Yeah, the $1,600 lunch. That's what we like to call it. But yeah.
I remember entertaining you more than a few times in RTP when you were coming in for the lab. Those were good times.
Yeah, eventually went to Richardson, went there too many times too. But so I got my CCIE 2019 and was working at the time for WWT, very large IT integrator consulting company in the US, large Cisco partner. So doing a lot of SD-WAN. And really just, you know, a couple of years ago, I was like, what's next? What's next for me? Where do I want to go? What do I want to learn? Not to shit on Cisco or anything, but the big thing buzzing at the time was SDA, and I wasn't too sure about it. Wasn't sure if that was where I wanted to go. And really, I was listening to shout out to Jordan Martin from the Network Collective. I was listening to a podcast they were doing about where things are going in networking, what's next. And, you know, he had a great insight, and he was like, you know, public cloud is this thing that's just really taking off and it's not going anywhere. I think, I realized that it wouldn't be a bad move to put on, you know, not all my eggs, but a good portion of my eggs in that basket and see where it was going to go. And yeah, here I am. So now I'm a solutions architect at Aviatrix. We do cloud networking and security. And it's a wild ride. Yeah, so it's been really fun. How about you, Alex? Why did you move?
Nice, yeah, you know, I spent about 10 years active duty Army, doing just basic help desk stuff. There was a little bit of networking, but it wasn't my MPLS moment, right? It never really clicked for me. Eventually got out and I moved to the DC area because with a security clearance and Security Plus, right? It's like almost a guaranteed job ticket in that area. So contracting, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's everywhere. So I was real interested in networking. This is like, I was trying to dip my feet in and see like where I wanted to be, you know, networking or cybersecurity, or it was basically like deciding between these two. And I just happened to get a networking position. I was working on the NMCI contract. So giant Navy and Marine Corps network.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
You were at the NMCI as well, huh?
Yes, that's right. I was just at one of the sites, you know, I was a site lead for the DC area. There's 60 plus sites in that area. I
must have missed you by a couple of years then, because I worked in the Norfolk NOC there for a few years actually on the NMCI as well. Lots
of calls to the Norfolk NOC.
Yeah,
a lot.
I probably was gone by the time you were there. Maybe, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think I was. This was 2018, probably.
Oh yeah, long gone. That's cool though.
Yeah. So you know, after that. This was when I got like my CCNA. I moved to another contract, just kind of being the main network guy for just like a 2-campus kind of setup. And they had like an MPLS link between these two campuses. And this is when I really started getting into networking. Got my CCNP, started actually being able to understand how things work and really mess with route maps and BGP and all the fun stuff. Right? It starts getting you real interested in real engineering stuff. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. The start of it, at least. Baby. Yeah. Yep. And then
that's where you had your MPLS moment. We're gonna term that now that you said that. I'm gonna ask people what's their MPLS moment.
But I'm about to have a data center moment. Yeah, to get right. Yeah. This contract ended after I was only there for like a year. So this contract ended and I went to another federal organization, and they were transitioning from Nexus gear to ACI, which was pretty new at the time. You know, not a lot of people are super experts at ACI at the time. And magically got this job knowing literally nothing. Didn't even know what a spine leaf fabric was. So, I started diving in. I found out that I absolutely love data center networking, understanding really how applications work, right? Front ends and back ends and load balancers and WAFs and all that fun stuff. And then combining it with networking. And ACI is a decent entry point into learning all this stuff. So this brought me to learning some automation, because a lot of the point of all these GUI based controller fabrics they're supposed to be easy to automate. And that's of course, right. Automation was the big thing around this year, right? 2019, this Cisco Live started announcing all the DevNet tracks and
all the APIs.
Python or cloud? Which one are you going for?
Yeah, Python or cloud, man. Every day someone was asking the question.
Oh man, yeah, that was a rough time.
I'm not a good programmer.
Every YouTube video was just like, do I need my CCNA? Do I need to learn Python?
Yeah,
that's right. Right. Get your DevNet associate. Do I need to go to the cloud? Do I need to? Right. Oh man, everybody was existential crisis there. I remember the existential crisis. Automate.
Yeah. Do I need to learn networking or do I need to learn Python? It's right. There was oh man, yeah, crazy times. So, but like Chris said, at the time there was also this little thing in the background going on. Like a lot of enterprises were starting to expand out to the cloud and move their data centers to the cloud. And, I hadn't done real well in trying to push into the automation space, and I was determined not to miss out on another big paradigm shift like cloud. So that's really what got me interested in it. And it turns out that cloud networking is a lot of fun. You can just do a lot more things with it. Right. Yeah, exactly. And, we'll have plenty of conversations about that, but it's just a lot of fun. I enjoy it a lot. And you can learn a lot of cool things and engineer a lot of cool new solutions. So, yep, that's where I'm at now. What about you, Tim?
I'll round this out. Let's see. I got my start on the NMCI as well, although I was there back in 2010, actually. I was back there, so it was quite a long time now. I'm the old guy of the group, so if there's an Andy in this one, I guess I'm required to be the curmudgeon and be angry about things and shake my head at I can't shake my fist at
yelling at the cloud,
right?
I can't be old man yelling at Can't be the old man yelling at the cloud, but I'll do my best to be suitably angry about new technologies to carry the banner.
I'll let you yell at me, man. Just old man yells at Chris. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, I do that anyway, so it's fine. Let's see. So I started with the NMCI. Worked there a few years in the Norfolk NOC. Went on to an enterprise with a global footprint. So I got to, you mentioned your NPLS moment, Chris. For me, mine was a DMVPN. Actually, DMVPN was my NPLS moment. That was like a very elegant technology that I loved, and I got to use it a lot.
DMVPN.
I mean, as far as it could be, right? Comparatively, to like Frame Relay or something like that, right? It was pretty damn elegant. Now we're not going to talk about the Akira monster that it became IOAN, but let's what's
cooler than DMVPN when you do. What is it, 2547 over DMVPN when you put MPLS on top of DMVPN?
It's MPLS over. Because what's better for a fabric is another fabric on top of that fabric.
Absolutely.
So basically, we just keep stretching fabrics on top of other fabrics.
It's just like a bed. It's like a bed with like 30 blankets.
5 bytes. Exactly. We're going to end up with a payload size of 5 bytes by the end of by the time we have all the anyway, so that place was cool. I got to go all over the world, mostly APJ to be honest, and then
you went to like Shanghai
place. Went to Cisco
like
for a few years. I did.
Yeah,
I did. I went to Shanghai, Taipei, Seoul. It was a cool gig. But anyway. So I moved on to Cisco from there, spent years at Cisco learning to I was a route switch guy, and then I got my CCIE. Chris, you and I studied together in the same study group. That's how we met, actually, right? In Router Gods.
Shout out Router Gods.
Shout out to Router Gods. Then we got our, then we both basically ended up working, you at WWT and me at Cisco with SD-WAN, right? SD-WAN was our baby at that time. So, and then you went to Aviatrix, and you let me know that they were recruiting, and I had like an interview that was kind of ridiculous, actually, because I didn't know anything about the cloud at the time, but you're like, hey, just go ahead and try. So, I tried, and they were like, well, you're not quite ready yet. And I completely agreed. And then a few months later, they decided to hire me, and here I am now. I'm a solutions architect at Aviatrix.
Welcome.
And so anyway, so let's see. Why don't we talk a little bit about this? Is actually a really good intro, or not intro, but a good segue into kind of who's this podcast for. So let's talk a little bit about that, if that's all right. And Chris, you kind of hit it a little bit, right? Network engineers transitioning to cloud. I think that's part of it. I think the margins are a little wider, right? We're also looking for people who are in the cloud, maybe cloud, adjacent and working on cloud, and they want to know more about the networking options in the cloud. And that's so like on that side of the train, if you will. And then, where we come from, right? Maybe there's engineers that they don't want to be cloud engineers. That's when I visualize our target audience, I see people that don't want to be cloud engineers. They're network engineers, but they need to know enough about the cloud, right? To really to work with the cloud teams to own their piece of it, and specifically to do hybrid networking, right? Like, got to connect your data centers, got to connect your colos, all of that stuff.
Everyone's going to be hybrid.
That's the future's hybrid, man. There's no question. Yeah. In my opinion, the future's hybrid. So I just wanted to say, like, hey, if anyone who's listening, that's the audience I think that we're looking for. That's to me, that's the target we've painted and that we're kind of aiming for. So do you guys think that that's accurate?
Yeah. So, I mean, before I'm even started learning about cloud networking, like I'll be honest, I was not interested in it whatsoever, because to me, it sounded like, I was a networking professional that sat there for years, like reading the RFCs, learning the standards, things like that, trying to, I was definitely a big Cisco guy. So I was definitely learning vendor integration techniques directly from the vendor, which is, some people have their qualms with that or whatever. But, I was learning true networking. And then when I thought about, Azure or AWS or GCP, anything like that, I was like, I'm just going to learn networking on their terms and how they integrate it, because, they're these massive, hyperscalers, right? And like they need to take this infrastructure and build it to do these things at a scale that can support what they want to do for their customers, right? And so it was like, I didn't want to learn, I don't want to have to learn the little quirks of each cloud and things like that. That didn't sound fun to me, but I kind of just dove in, and I will say, boy, was I wrong. It actually is very fun. It was like learning something brand new for the first time. Like, I remember like getting so far with my CCIE studies, and I was like, it was very rewarding, but switching to cloud, it was like I was learning a brand new technology. There wasn't all this, luggage or, baggage to come with it. There's no RIP, there's no, there's no,
you're not carrying 30 years of technical debt.
Exactly. Yeah. It was like, hey, all that shit that was pointless, we ripped it out. Like we didn't bring that with us. So,
right.
But I kind of want to encourage people to look into it, to try it out, because it actually turns out to be very fun. And, you can, like, not to glorify it or anything, but you can stand up like a global enterprise network within an hour. in the cloud and play around with it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty powerful, man.
So yeah, like Chris was saying, I think one of the greatest benefits of the cloud is that there's just more freedom, right? Like with traditional networking, even at the CCIE level, you kind of get trapped into a box. You got all the nerd knobs now, but you still have to kind of follow, best practices and exactly. I mean, in the cloud, it's all software based. So really it's like, I'm definitely not an artist or a poet, but there's a more of an art to it. I feel like in the cloud, because it's like a blank canvas. You can just kind of design your own network, right? Like you have that ultimate freedom to less options honestly leads to like more.
It's weird, right? I agree completely with you. I completely agree. I didn't know how to say it, but that's right. It's so weird because it feels like Fisher Price networking to me, right? Because they give you so few options. And so you actually, and it's kind of the fun, it becomes fun, like what Chris was saying. In my opinion, it becomes fun because it's like working within the constraints of what they expose to you to make something elegant. It's almost like a challenge. But the freedom thing, I love how you put the freedom thing, man. Because you're right. Like when I thought you were going to say networking has to follow the cable, which is truthfully, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, a switch has to connect to a router. So, routers have to connect. The cables are the cables, and the cloud really kind of obviates that. So not to cut you off, but I thought that was good.
It's funny in a way. Sometimes I feel like this is kind of like what VMware tried to do with NSX. Right? Like, it was a network that you're supposed to be able to just spin up and throw away. But now it's everyone can do it. You don't have to be using a certain product, and you have all these big different CSPs that all do it a different way. And it really just opens up a real engineering side of networking that I think a lot of people are looking for. And that's the part I enjoy, right? I love doing the actual engineering piece.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think it's good because it kind of forces people because you're transitioning, right? You're adopting a new technology. It's kind of a new stepping stone where you should be able to implement these best practices, and some of them kind of force you into that box, which is very nice. It's like you can't have your 2,000 static routes anymore. Like you can't do that. Like they're not gonna let
it like crap.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you gotta learn how to summarize. You gotta learn how to condense, and you gotta work within these hard limits. Sometimes they're a pain in the ass. It's like, I can only have 100 dynamic routes or something, but it forces you to be more crafty, and you can only have so many rules on a security group. So you don't have firewalls with endless amounts of security policies and things like that. So it's you have to re-engineer it, and it's ultimately in a more simplistic way, and it's I think it's really good.
Yeah.
Refactoring.
You don't have to know EIGRP and ISIS and OSPF and RIP and BGP, right? Like
I said this the other day, but I was like, I think cloud might be the
BGP you still have to know.
BGP you still have to know, but I think
you don't need to know all of them.
Right. Yeah, I think like eventually it'll probably come back, but like cloud to me has almost been like the death of the nerd knob. Like you don't get all these, you don't get to twist every little thing that you want to turn on. You don't get BGP, ASPath, multipath, relax, all this stuff. You don't get all these like crazy commands that you have to like tweak things with, right?
Forced elegance.
Well, it's like, a lot of it is bringing. You don't have the IETF in the cloud, right? And
that's right.
It's a different time. I could rant about that another time. But there's like, you don't have these committees. It's whatever they're releasing as a product, you just consume it in a cool, creative way that nobody's going to tell you how to set it up. You figure out how all these things interact together in a way that best makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I guess this is a good segue into, what's our plan going forward? What are the episodes going to look like? What are the kinds of things we're going to talk about? And, I think we have a bunch of ideas ready. Chris and Tim, you guys want to chime in with some of the ideas we have? I know we have plans for guests. We got a bunch of things that we want to cover.
We're definitely going to be. I mean, we just talked about like some of the most fun things, which is utilizing the cloud native stuff to make things happen. Of course, we can also use NVAs. I mean, Chris and I both work for Aviatrix, and we'll get to that at some point, right? But we're definitely going to have to deep dive on some of this network stuff that's exposed, because we all just said it, right? The kind of forced elegance model means that people coming from networking backgrounds are going to have to learn to live within the kind of the Fisher-Price model and learn how to be elegant with it. So I can't wait to dive
what's
into
missing.
that.
Yeah. But like you said, Alex, we've already lined up some really good guests, right, that we think can come on and really kind of expose not only the audience and the listeners, but also us, because there's a lot of stuff that we don't know about. It's a very big world. Like there's you throw so many things into the mix, like Kubernetes and decoupling applications and load balancers and things like that. So I think it's best that we bring in people that know these things very, very tried and true, and can kind of speak to it. And hopefully we can expose that to a larger audience that hasn't even considered it.
Yep. And help them. And then maybe they can help us figure out where how to design the network right to take advantage of all the things that they're bringing. Especially, dude, I want to know more. I mean, I know a little bit about container networking, but I would love to know more, so just throwing that one out there as an example. Right. So I'm excited to get started.
There's so many cool technologies. Like if you've ever just gone to look at like the CNCF landscape, man, it's so much. It's so interesting as how networking combines into all these technologies, and it's not talked about a lot yet. So that's a lot of what we're going to be doing.
And the other thing is, like we said, the future is hybrid, man. And hybrid design is going to be some of the most complex things that are going to be out there, just because you got this legacy network with all of these, legacy problems, legacy things, thousands of routes floating around and all of that. And how are we going to be engineering for the cloud to be a hybrid, to work hybridly with those. So I'm really excited to get started. I can't wait to see some of the stuff we got planned. Yeah.
I mean, the network is still at the core of everything, right? It all comes down to the network. So that was true in the on-prem world. That's still very true in the cloud world. But unfortunately for us, there was a long period of time, probably 5 or 6 years, where developers just had access to a default set of networking, and they thought that was all they ever needed. And now you have some very
default VPC,
default VPCs. It's and they've built some. If you let them run rampant and they don't know what they're doing, they will build some functioning applications, but they're very ugly under the hood. So it's just as important in the cloud world to get the networking piece right. Let's. I'm hoping we can really dive into a lot of this and prove that it's a fun world to be in.
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah. So I think that's all we really wanted to cover for today. Just kind of give an introduction to who we are, why we're doing this, and welcome everyone to join us on this journey that we're going to go on. So we have some really good stuff planned. We're bringing in some cool guests. So glad to be working under the Art of Network Engineering umbrella with AJ and all the folks over there. So big shout out to them. Really, really happy to be community under that umbrella. Yeah. It's a great Discord community. So if you want to get involved with that, you can find it on the A1 website. We'll definitely plug that as well. We're going to be hosted under there as well. So that's where you'll find us. Cables2Clouds.com. Also, you can go to theartofnetworkengineering.com and find our page there with our RSS feed and all that. As for me, like I said, my name is Chris Miles. You can find me on Twitter at BGP Main, a little nod to Gucci Mane. And I blog over at the controlplane.net. Alex, how can we find you?
Yeah, obviously the A1 Discord, pretty much always on there. I'm upping my presence on Twitter a lot more recently. So I'm at aperkins828 and LinkedIn. I'm always on LinkedIn. If anyone messages me on LinkedIn, you're most likely going to get a response. How about you, Tim?
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. I might take that back, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You open the floodgates. So Tim McConaughey. You can find me on my blog at carpedmvpn.com, on Twitter at JuanGolbez. Yeah, and of course, like Chris says, you can also reach us on the A1 website or Cables2Cloud. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Look forward to having some more content here on a regular basis soon. So that's it for now, and yeah, we'll talk soon. See ya. Hi everyone, it's Chris, and this has been the Cables2Clouds podcast. Thanks for tuning in today. If you enjoyed our show, please subscribe to us in your favorite podcatcher, as well as subscribe and turn on notifications for our YouTube channel to be notified of all our new episodes. Follow us on socials at Cables2Clouds. You can also visit our website for all of the show notes at Cables2Clouds.com. Thanks again for listening, and see you next time.